Good evening. My name is Gloria. Today I am honored to share my story with you. I am the youngest of 5 children. Since before I was born, all odds were against me. My father was an abusive, drunk person. He kicked my mother on her back while she was pregnant with me, which caused her to go into labor. With absolutely no help, she transported herself to the hospital where I was born shortly after. We lived in a small house in San Luis Potosi, Mexico, with 3 other families, where my mother was physically abused, but not only my father, but his family as well. His mother, sisters, sister-in-law, all of them. She was expected to cook, clean, and care for us and his family. My siblings shared a room while I slept with my parents. Day after day, I saw my father get drunk and violently hit my mom. I still remember the fear that ran through me when I heard the door close behind him while he was approaching. Not only was I afraid of him, I was afraid of his sister who had attempted to physically harm my mother with a knife right in front of me. I remember being so scared and holding my mother's hand so tightly. At the age of 3, I had accidentally drank Clorox from a soda bottle. My mother was trying to finish the laundry to avoid beating from my father. She put the Clorox in a soda bottle because it was easier to carry than the big container. In her rush to avoid getting beaten, she didn't notice when I picked up the bottle and I started drinking it. I almost died and I was hospitalized for a couple weeks from drinking the Clorox, all because my mother was so afraid of being beaten by my dad. Finally, after feeling hopeless and feeling so much fear, my mother made the decision to allow her sister to help her get out of the situation we were in. Out of 5 children, my mother was the only able to take me and my older sister. We were the youngest too. We came to the United States for a better life, leaving everything behind with only the clothes on our back. We stayed with my aunt. She called us the Three Musketeers. She had a small, humble house with 4 children of her own. She allowed us to stay on her living room floor. Life was definitely better, but not easy. We slept on the hard, cold floor, my sister, my mom, and me. My aunt was kind to us, but my cousin saw it as an opportunity to pass down all the household chores, especially to me, because I was the youngest and easiest to bully. So my sister and I were the last to go to sleep and the first to wake up to clean, scrubbing walls and floors, doing all the laundry, cleaning up after the cousins. It was like my own version of the Cinderella story. I was constantly falling asleep at the school or in the pile of dirty clothes in the laundry room. At Christmas, I received toys for pictures and such, but hours later, they were taken away. My job was to clean and not play. We were not allowed to do or eat what my cousins did because it was not our house. Yet, I was relieved. Anything was better than the abuse I witnessed at home. Soon, though, my mother changed. She left us with my aunt to work in Houston, Dallas, or was just always at work. I barely saw my mom anymore. My aunt was not perfect, but she tried. With 4 teens of her own, plus my sister and me, it was a lot for anyone. Eventually, my mom met a man at work who she fell head over heels for. He offered to take us to live with him and promised a better life. Only me and my mom went. My sister decided to stay with my aunt. She was not treated as I was because she was older than me. My aunt has always tried to be there for us and treat us like her own children. At first, everything seemed as promised. He was the only dad I knew that fit the word. I grew to love him and accept him as my dad. I longed so much for the love I saw in the streets, dads with their little girls, and I wanted that to be me. I wanted a stable home and a loving family. I just wanted to be able to enjoy life and play with my toys. A dad is supposed to love and protect you from anyone, right? The promise was short-lived. He began touching me inappropriately. I was only 7 or 8 years old, and I didn't understand at the time what was happening. He became abusive towards my mom to the point of almost ending her life. He then got arrested, and we went to what was then called Safe Place and is now safe. But as often happens in abusive relationships, he told her he was sorry, that things would be different, that he loved her, and so my mom believed him and went back. Time went by. I was now 10 or 11, and he seemed different until he began touching me again. I did everything to be away from home, including getting a job at the flea market to help my mom with the bills and buy my own stuff, because if I wanted something, I had to buy it. I had to work for it, even if it was things I needed. I joined sports teams at school, stayed outside late, and hung around the wrong people. Anything to be away from home. At the time, I didn't trust my mom to tell her about what he was doing to me. I was afraid that she wouldn't believe me, but more than that, he was no longer abusive to my mom. For the first time, I saw my mom happy and full of life, and I asked myself, who am I to ruin her happiness? You have to understand that after experiencing what I experienced, that meant the world to me more than anything, and I would do anything for my mother's love and approval. I remember my mom making me dig through horrible, filthy dumpsters for cans to pay for bills. I was afraid of what was in there, but I couldn't tell her no. And now seeing her happy for the first time I made the decision to keep that hurt to myself. Eventually, my best friend Edward and his sister Esperanza were aware of the situation, and they were there for me. Esperanza was also my best friend, and she convinced me to speak to her mom and let her know what was going on. She was a different kind of mother than what I had seen before. She was loving and was there for me when my own mom was not. She informed CPS about my situation, and I was taken away from my mother at the age of 11. CPS first reached out to my family to see who was willing to take me in. My family said no. Friends of my mom said no. Then one agreed to take me in just to change her number and never hear from her again. Can I get a tissue? I'm looking for some. So sorry. My aunt allowed me to stay with her, but as the CPS worker was leaving, my mom and my stepdad arrived. They set me in the living room and told me to say everything in front of everyone who was there. Cousins, aunt, mom, even him. I was shocked that they would do this to me. Did they not believe me? Why would they make me be around him when they were finally able to know what was going on? Then instead of believing me, they told me I should be grateful. I had a dad who cared about me and made sure I had what I needed and then some. Someone who gave me what I needed and wanted, but at what price? That day I felt a pain like I had never felt before. My own family turned their back on me and believed him over me simply because he did things for us and was a good guy. My own mother chose a man over her own daughter, over me. After that, I went to my first foster home. I was 12 years old. I was so depressed and I didn't know what that even meant. I went through 3 or 4 foster homes before being allowed to live with Edward and Esperanza's family. Their mom was a single young mother of 6 children. We lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment. At the age of 14, I became pregnant. Everyone was against me having a child at such a young age, and I was very afraid. I was surrounded by people who cared for me, but I still felt so alone. But in my mind, I finally had someone who I could love and who would love me unconditionally. My son would always be with me no matter what. I chose to continue with my pregnancy against everyone who advised me against it. It was a hard decision, and then I had to make the decision to stay with my foster family, my best friend's family, and add more mouths for her to feed or go my own way. I decided it would be best for everyone for me to leave. So at the age of 15 and 3 months pregnant, I arrived at SAFE for the second time. When I went to the Children's Shelter Teen Parent Program. At first, I wasn't sure if I would like it because there was staff there all the time, and there were other girls there. Some with babies and some pregnant like me. I honestly was not sure what to expect. At the time, I had a lot of different feelings going through me at once. I wasn't sure what I felt. I was fighting myself, thinking, I'm not enough. But God reminded me who I was when I wasn't sure anymore. It was a hard time, and sometimes I said mean things to staff that I didn't mean. Somehow they still cared about me. Staff was committed to us and stood by my side when I needed somebody to talk to or cry. I was safe and comfortable there. And sometimes we even just got to be kids and have fun. I will never forget when they took us to Schlitterbahn, and I was super excited because I had never done anything like that. We spent the whole day there with the staff, and it was so fun. Miss Nicole stayed with us in the wave pool with me and another girl since we were pregnant and couldn't do the big slides, but we were included, and that meant a lot. At the children's shelter, we had cooking classes, outings to the zoo, aquarium, and so many other things that youth like me had never experienced and might never experience outside of SAFE. On January 12th, Dominique took me to my doctor's appointment. She was with me all day. They noticed that my baby was not moving like he should. We went in again on the 13th, and then on Wednesday the 14th, I had to be induced. Staff was with me every minute. They stayed by my side through the whole process. Finally, on January 14th of 2015, I had my beautiful son, Andrew. And after he was born, staff was still there every step of the way. They taught me how to bathe, feed, and swaddle him, and more. Staff was always on me about co-sleeping and how important it was to not do it. They would wake me up when I accidentally fell asleep and reminded me that I could roll over on him. I hated it when they woke me up. I was so tired. But they were teaching me how to be a good mom. Not long after Andrew was born, my caseworker thought it would be better for us to be in a foster home. Boy, was she wrong. I was with my foster mom in Temple for a very short time. And when she sent us to respite for the weekend, and then she never came back. There was no explanation, no goodbye. All of our things were still at her house. All I had were the clothes I had for the weekend and the diaper bag. My caseworker tried to get my things back, especially those that had sentimental value to me. I was never able to get my stuff back. She cut out communication with everyone. So off we went to another foster home in Killeen. This would be my 9th placement in 13 years, and I was about to enter my 16th school. This foster mom was nice, and she took a special interest in my son. was overly helpful with him. She would take him behind my back to doctor appointments without me. And I found out from my caseworker that she was asking questions about how she could adopt Andrew. She was always telling me things I was doing wrong, and then she would intentionally tell me things to distort my confidence. You would not graduate. You can't give him a good life. You had him too young. Then one day she told me, I will buy you a Disney trip with all expenses paid if you graduate your classes. And do you know why? Because I know you won't. You are so far behind that I could bet anything you want, and you still couldn't do it. More than half of children born to mothers in foster care get their children removed by the age of 2. I was determined to not be another young mom who lost her baby to the system. I was already afraid of doing something wrong, and I was trying so hard to be the best I could for him. I didn't need anyone telling me I could never do it. Finally, a decision was made that the Killeen home was not a good fit for us, and I moved to a group home in San Antonio. They were very good to me, but I couldn't stop thinking about how SAFE impacted my life. It felt like home. I had people I cared about and who cared about me. They taught me how to become a better person, a better mom, and they were always encouraging. And I grew up in Austin my whole life. I just wanted to go home. Considering all these things, I realized I wanted to go back to SAFE so much that I started calling SAFE to see if we could come back. Yes, I started calling SAFE to see if I could come back. I emailed, I called, I talked to my caseworker, everything I could think of. Finally, a spot opened up and it was ours. I moved back to SAFE for the third time in 2016. They helped me get to my appointment for my United States residency, took me to get my Texas ID, helped me open a bank account that I still use. They keep me motivated and constantly reminded me how important it was to get an education. In 2017, I officially graduated from high school. When I turned 18 and moved into my first apartment, staff told me move and set things up to make it easier to transition. I never knew how much I would appreciate them for what they did for me and do every day for the kids at SAFE. I was able to bond with other girls because they understood what I was going through. They'd showed me I am strong when I didn't think I belonged. They showed me I am and will always be a part of them. Today, I am still in contact with a few staff members. I recently started purchasing a mobile home, and my dream is to one day own my own land to place my home or even a house, which I'm saving up for. My son is now 6 years old with his own room and his own bed. Never did I think this possible, but God had bigger plans for me. I walked into SAFE at 3 different times in my life when I needed help. They were always there for me, and now I am breaking the cycle of abuse. I'm still with Edward, my best friend, my son's wonderful father, and we're in a healthy, safe, loving relationship. He assures me every day that I am loved, I am cared for, and I am worthy, and I am not another statistic. I want to say thank you to God first, to SAFE, the donors who make these services possible, to my family, and to all the SAFE staff who cared so much about me. And before I go, I would like to say a special thank you for 2 special staff members, Ms. Herlinda and Monica. Ms. Herlinda, thank you for taking care of our needs and special requests. You were there 4 years ago ironing my graduation gown, and here you are with me yet on another very special day. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Monica, you have been with me through so much and taken so much for me, and I just really appreciate you. You've always been there for me, and you're still there. Thank you, everybody.